All right, Central Georgia, well, we are back with another severe thunderstorm warning. If you were watching with us earlier, I did mention that some storms, that are pushing in from the metro area were making their way down towards us here, and that could have issued a severe thunderstorm warning, and that has happened. So I'll go ahead and take you guys full screen so that we can track the threats with this warning. Again, this is a warning issued for Lamar, Monroe, Spalding, and Upson counties, and it is set to expire at 10 p.m. tonight. So this is the same story as the storms we've been watching all afternoon, where the main threats really right now are very high winds as well as a chance to see some hail, and additionally we also have some really intense chance to see some flash flooding as well. So we can go ahead and take a look at where this storm is rolling into. I'm going to zoom in here for just a minute here. It is rolling its way over Griffin and Zebulon right now, looking like that is the area of heaviest rainfall. Now, this is really important because I do want to emphasize that this area did see a severe thunderstorm warning earlier as well. So they have already had a lot of rain throughout the day. Spalding and Pike counties specifically have seen lots of rain this afternoon. So this means that this next round of showers and storms really could provide the potential for them to see some flash flooding, especially over towards the roads. Earlier we were watching some showers make their way over this region of I-75, so the roads likely are very saturated right now. I really do want to emphasize that if you're heading out to drive over the next couple of minutes, or really over the next couple of hours, this is not the best time to do so, because there definitely is a high chance that we have some flooding on the roads over here. So this storm is making its way towards Orchard Hill, Walker Mill, Steels Mill, Zebulon, again, as I mentioned, Minor, Meansville, Concord. Those areas all will be seeing impacts from this storm over the next couple of minutes. And I will read the details here about what the National Weather Service has issued this warning for. Again, these winds that we've seen all day today have been locally very strong, which is enough to take down some tree branches, maybe even some power lines, and again, dump lots of rain onto the roads. This storm is moving a bit quickly, already making its way into Meansville here. Minor in the next few minutes. Barnesville, the Rock is an area heading its next to. Again, we already saw some impacts over here in Forsyth. They likely will be seeing some impacts from this storm in the next few minutes. And I actually can use my tool here and draw out where we're going to be seeing impacts over the next few minutes. So give me just a second. I'll do that for us here. Let me take it out to full time. All right. And it does look like this storm is moving around. Let's see how quickly the storm is going, and I'll draw that out to where it's heading right now. All right. So over to the next hour or so, looks like it will be heading towards High Falls, Eldora, Atwater, Thomaston, Yatsville, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing these, and Brent over the next couple of minutes. So these really will be making their impact over the next hour, likely before this warning has expired. So these are the areas we're watching for next most intense impacts. Again, impacts with this storm, I repeated myself a few times, but we are watching really for the potential to see some flash flooding and some very high winds as well. I'm thinking that this is strong enough to really blow down some tree branches, maybe even take down some power lines out on the roads. And again, I don't know if we've seen any hail with this storm yet. We actually can go ahead and flip over. Only a small hail core over here towards Zebulon, just to the north of Zebulon, who did have some hail earlier as well. So this storm really is kind of training over the same area that we just saw a severe thunderstorm warning just a few minutes ago. So again, lots of rain in this area, and they already have seen some hail earlier today. About 3/10 of an inch is the hail core at the moment. So let's go ahead and take this out a little bit bigger picture right now, just to see where exactly it's heading, where we've already seen a lot of rain. You can see our most recent severe thunderstorm warning was just over here in Houston, Peach, Crawford, Bibb counties. It's making its way further south right now, but then this next storm that we're checking right now is kind of heading over the same region. So again, we may have kind of issued the all clear for some areas here, but this next round of storm is kind of set to impact the same areas that we were watching just a few minutes ago. So let's again go a little bit closer here, talk about some of these areas that are receiving the highest impacts. Again, Zebulon looking to be the only region that's really seen some hail at the moment. So certainly some high impacts for Zebulon here. Concord definitely getting some rain. Meansville getting some rain as well. Orchard Mill seeing some rain. Griffin, again, an area that saw some very heavy rain earlier, still sitting under some heavy rain right now. And I am actually getting note from the National Weather Service that This storm that we were tracking earlier as a severe thunderstorm warning just to the south here, mainly over Houston County in this region. They are watching it just because the wind speeds right now are up to 50 miles per hour, and this is a lot of rain that's dumping over these regions, and it's really kind of a slow moving storm. We watched this earlier. It's kind of sat over the same regions for a long time. Earlier when we went off of the air, it was just about to head over Perry and still sitting over Perry at the moment. So again, that is really, I've been reiterating myself all day, but that has been my main concern with these storms this afternoon, is just the intense amount of rainfall that we're getting in such a short amount of time. And as these storms kind of continue to train over the same region, that's when the threat for the flash flooding really increases, because there's just so much rain that there's just not a lot of places for it to go at the end of the day. Even behind these storms, you can start to see these bands of rain making their way in from North Georgia. That is going to dump a whole lot more rain into our region too as these bands start to make their way towards us. So again, that's really my main concern, but still lots of lightning with these storms as well. If we flip the lightning back on, we've seen lots of lightning strikes all day. Earlier I flipped the sky cam on over downtown Macon, and it was just, the sky was lighting up. So lots of lightning with these storms as well. And then again, we've seen hail kind of all throughout the afternoon today with these storms. I'll actually flip on kind of on a larger scale and see if there's still any hail in these storms down to our south a little bit. Looks like we may have a little bit of hail just outside of our viewing area in Talbot County. So let's see how big this hail core is here. Looking like we're seeing hail about 7/10 of an inch in diameter. So again, that continues to be one of the main threats with these storms as well. It's just the potential to see some hail, maybe still seeing some over Zebulon. They definitely have had some intense impacts from today's storms for sure. All right, so again, let's just go back locally to the storm that we're watching right now. Over here towards Zebulon, still seeing the brunt of the force. Barnesville making its way into your area now, likely where we're going to see the highest impacts over the next couple of minutes as it makes its way down into Lamar County and heading towards Monroe County as well. Again, making its way towards I-75, so definitely important to pay attention out on the roads, because these rainfall totals will be very heavy after we just saw another very intense thunderstorm earlier this afternoon. Again, heading towards the Rock over here, heading towards Thomaston as well, likely seeing some intense impacts in the next couple of minutes. And Thomaston not really getting a break. We're seeing kind of this trail of showers over here towards Thomaston. You can see it already starting to leave the area, and now this severe thunderstorm warning is heading its direction as well. So even though these areas aren't necessarily outlined in the polygon, I've mentioned this before, that's still something you want to pay attention to because it's still attached to the same storm that's heading your direction. The National Weather Service definitely has issued these polygons because that's where the wind speeds are the highest, or that's where we're seeing the most hail. And they usually think that that's where the most intense part of the storm is heading. So if you're outside of the polygon, that is why, but you can definitely still see some impacts from this storm as it moves its way down. Again, we can go a little bit big picture here just to see those showers that we saw earlier, even earlier in the day when we had severe thunderstorm warnings around the 6 o'clock hour. They are making their way down south of Montgomery, Wheeler, and Telfair counties right now. So definitely made their way out of the area. But all to our west, we've started to see some cells begin to stir up and make their way into our viewing area as well. Dooley County down here towards Crisp, starting to see some pretty intense thunderstorms as well. Again, these aren't warned, but I still want to bring your attention to them just because they still can be locally very strong even without a warning. Again, I heard some confusion earlier about why some storms maybe don't have warnings even if they're still very strong, or if there's still a lot of lightning or a lot of hail, things like that. Usually thunderstorms have to make the threshold of wind speeds at 60 miles per hour. So I'm assuming that the reason that a lot of these storms haven't met the severe weather threshold is because their wind speeds haven't quite reached that length. So let's go back, let's zero back in on our severe thunderstorm warning here again for Lamar, Monroe, Spalding, and Upson counties over here towards Zebulon. This is actually a much smaller line than what we were watching earlier, so actually the worst part of it making its way past Zebulon now, seeming to move them out of the way. Griffin's starting to come out of the worst part of the storm as well. Now looking like the most intense area is heading its way towards Barnesville over here. That area where you're seeing the darkest red color, if I flip off the lightning for you here, you can get a better idea of it. This dark red color here is really where we're seeing the most intense impacts kind of head their way towards Barnesville and Meansville as well over the next couple of minutes. Let's check in and see if there's been any update on hail. looks like the hail core has left Zebulon and is not tracking towards Barnesville as that same area of the storm makes its way over there. So that's good news. But still a little bit of hail over here towards the northwest of Thomaston, about 4/10 of an inch in diameter. That's kind of our really only area of hail core at the moment, besides these storms that are outside of our viewing area. So, all right, let's flip back over to our reflectivity here. Again, these showers that left our area earlier did leave a flash flood warning in Jeff Davis County. So that's kind of also reiterating the fact that we could really see some high rainfall totals with all of these storms that are training across the same regions over and over. If these storms do make their way back over the same areas that we did see the severe thunderstorm warning over here towards Houston, Peach, Crawford, Bibb, all of those counties where we did see a severe thunderstorm warning earlier, starting to see some more thunderstorms filter their way into that region. So again, that's an area you definitely want to pay attention to, especially over here towards I-75, just north of Perry. They have had a lot of rain in this region, so the roads are likely very, very saturated. And again, I know I keep reiterating myself with the rainfall totals, but that is really the biggest impact I'm watching with these storms as well. So let's zero once again back in on our storm here just to check as it heads into Barnesville, kind of what the effects are right now. It does appear that our areas of darkest reflectivity, you kind of see that dark red sort of begin to fade as it makes its way towards Barnesville, which is a good thing. That's usually an indication of the storm kind of raining itself out, if you will, sort of losing its steam to dump that much rain over that area. So hopefully that's a good sign as it makes its way over Barnesville that it will be sort of dissipating, and hopefully they won't have to extend this warning any further. But again, outside the polygon where there's still some intense impacts happening, heading over here towards Thomaston and towards the Rock, that is where we still are seeing some pretty intense thunderstorm impacts. The Rock is outlined in the polygon, but Thomaston is not. Parts of Upson County not outlined in this warning at the moment. Again, just zooming out, kind of give you a big picture of what's going on here. Lots of rain still filtering its way in from North Georgia, from the metro Atlanta area. So we still, even after these storms move their way on from our specific polygon, we definitely could still see a lot of rain filter its way into the area, which means, again, this is the main concern, is that we definitely could still see some flash flooding even after these storms make their way out. I'll actually go ahead and check in on our rainfall totals from the past 12 hours, just so we could see if we can get an idea of how much rain we have going on here. Again, lots of rain still over here towards Perry and Warner Robins, where we have these storms kind of training over the same area, about 3.5 inches of rain in this region over here. And then this area that we're watching towards Griffin and Zebulon, looking like they might be seeing close to 2 inches of rain in this region as well. Let me see if I can use my tool here. Yeah, about just shy of 2 inches of rain in this region as well. So again, lots of rainfall with these storms as they continue to train over the same region. And again, this comes after we are in, if you haven't seen me show this in the earlier coverage, we were in a risk for severe weather earlier that actually has updated since I have shown this earlier, where we were looking to see some impacts that we were in a level 1 out of 5 risk, and now it looks like the Storm Prediction Center has changed this just to outline our most western counties, about west of I-75, and that's actually where we're seeing the most impact. So I'm assuming that because they've updated this, that means that they're continuing to watch these as we push sort of into the overnight hours, that these could still continue to be possible. And again, we still are in another level 1 out of 5 risk for tomorrow as well. So in terms of weather for tomorrow, it would be likely very similar to today, where we could have some locally very strong storms, maybe a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. And other than that, lots of rainfall in store for tomorrow as well. So let's see if our graph model has really updated the rain chances for tonight based on that. It does look, again, like we still could see some of these storms until about the early morning hours of Tuesday morning. So again, no real change from this model here. I would not take these time stamps as the truth. I would definitely say that these are possible until about the early morning hours, not necessarily hard cutoff at 1 or 2 a.m., but around the early morning hours is when we'll start to see them become more of just showers and hopefully not severe thunderstorms after that point. But then again, for Tuesday, we still have a potential to see some severe thunderstorm warnings throughout the afternoon as well. So that's sort of the big picture in terms of how this forecast has come to fruition this afternoon. And again, we are still watching the potential for these to pop up throughout the rest of the evening and the afternoon. So let me see if I can check in here with the National Weather Service and see if anything has changed in terms of what they're thinking for this warning. But we haven't really received any updates so far, which usually is a good thing. Again, we mentioned earlier that this region sort of seems to be dissipating here. Not really seeing any areas of darker red reflectivity anymore, which usually is an indication that the storm is kind of dying out as it makes its way further to the south. And that still looks to be the case. We haven't really seen any other areas of darker red or even purple popping up as the storm makes its way into Barnesville, which again is continued good sign. Usually that is a sign of dissipating. When you start to see those colors relax into those lighter yellows or those greens, that's when we're really mostly just looking at some rain. Although still lots of lightning in this storm, that's definitely still a threat, but hopefully not really seeing any hail as it makes its way towards Barnesville and Thomaston over here in Upson County. I'll just check hail just to make sure that's exactly what's going on. Does look like we have a little area over here just to the east, or the west, excuse me, of Thomaston, about 0.4 of an inch in diameter. So there is, I will flip that back over to reflectivity so we can see kind of where exactly that hail core is headed. Give me just a second here to zoom in. So yes, where you see that area of darker red just to the west of Thomaston, that's where we're seeing those small hail core diameters start to move away. But this actually the area that's outlined in the severe thunderstorm warning towards Barnesville, not seeing any hail, and the reflectivity values are dying down, which does mean that hopefully this storm is dying down within the polygon here. You can even kind of tell as it makes its way further past Spalding County, you can start to see those brighter red values really dissipate. We're really kind of mostly just looking at rain. Over here in Spalding County, hopefully on the clear side, looking like the next round that makes its way towards them is really just a bunch of rain. Not really seeing any thunderstorms behind this thunderstorm here that we're tracking with the severe thunderstorm warning. So Spalding County making their way kind of into the clear, but definitely still a lot of rain on the way, which again, still cause for concern if maybe you're heading out on the roads. That's specifically my main concern, that we could see some pretty high rainfall totals as the next round of showers begins to make its way into the area. So again, I'll take you out big picture just one more time so we can kind of also look at these storms that we were watching earlier down here towards Perry. Let's see if they've had a little bit of clearing in that region specifically, because they have had some very high rainfall totals over here. Looking like lots of rain starting to cluster over here towards Butler and Montezuma. Definitely seeing some areas of darker reflectivity, and I'll pop the lightning, excuse me, off of that so that you can sort of see better what I'm talking about here with the colors. I'll even pause it when we get to the current conditions now. So you can see this area of purple here just to the south of Butler, purple down here to the west of Montezuma. That's where we're starting to see high reflectivity values. I'll check and see if we have hail in that region or if it's just some heavy rain. Again, still a little bit of hail over here to the west of Butler that is a little bit larger than 0.5 inch in diameter. So still, even if we're not seeing a lot of hail in that area, there still is a lot of rainfall coming down over these regions right now, and lots of lightning. Again, we've talked about this, but there is a lot of lightning flashes going on in these areas as well. And I'm trying to see if there's any sky cam we can pull up in this region so I can kind of give you a better picture of what it looks like outside, because earlier I was showing the sky cam from downtown Macon, and it was a pretty ominous sight. I mean, you start to see those shelf clouds coming towards you and the sky gets very, very dark. It's certainly a very, very ominous scene as it makes its way across, but unfortunately our Perry Skycam is down at the moment, so I can't necessarily pull up anything from Perry, and it looks like our only other two options are Dublin and downtown Macon, so we don't really get a good picture of what's going on over here to our western counties, but definitely still lots of rainfall, lots of lightning as these storms continue to track their way down to the southeast. These will be making their way down into Dooley County, Crisp County, back towards Pulaski and Wilcox. Again, back towards these regions, as I mentioned, that have already had lots of rain throughout the afternoon today. We already saw severe thunderstorm warnings down here towards Telfair, Dodge, and Wilcox counties, and these showers and storms are on their way down to those regions as well. If I put it in motion, you can see them tracking their way down here. I'll actually pull up our rainfall totals for this region as well so we can see how much rain they have had so far. Okay, so definitely lighter amounts than some of the other regions in central Georgia, but over here towards Telfair County, still looking like they've got just shy of an inch and a half of rain. Over here towards Unadilla, about just shy of 3 inches of rain. So again, high rainfall totals as these showers make their way over. And again, when they continue to train over the same areas, that's when we're really looking to see for flash flooding, the potential for flash flooding with this. So let me flip back over to our reflectivity. We will zero back in on our actual severe thunderstorm warning, but looking better and better as the time goes on, not looking like it is intensifying in any way, at least within our polygon, the area outside of our polygon, maybe still seeing a little bit of higher reflectivity values, but over here towards Thomaston, let's give it a pause and we can see. Definitely not seeing as bright of reds, no purples in this area either. So I'm hoping that that means that the National Weather Service will let this warning expire as we get closer to the 10 p.m. mark. Again, no updates from them either, which is a great sign. Normally, if they were thinking that they might have to extend it, they might issue a special weather statement for counties further to the south of this warning, but no counties have been issued for that warning at this time. So let's continue to just see where the next impacts would be, though, of this little storm that is making its way down into Monroe County right now. Again, the rock looking like they're making their way into the clear. Over here in Thomaston, still sitting kind of under the brunt of the force, but hopefully right now it's just looking like some pretty heavy rainfall. Still a lot of lightning though with this storm. Hey, give me just 1 second. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right, so it definitely does look to be dissipating as it's also making its way out of the polygon over the next few minutes. Areas behind this storm that are looking much better now to be Zebulon, Griffin, sort of this whole area in Spalding County here not really looking like they're under any sort of severe threat at this time. Even most of Pike County looking to be in the clear at this time as well. But again, lots of showers behind that are still kind of pushing over the same region. So still rainfall on the way, but hopefully these stronger storms and the severe threat is out of the way for the moment. Again, some high areas of reflectivity over here towards High Falls, over I-75. So again, I do want to emphasize being out on the roads, on the highway. This is definitely a dangerous time to be doing that, especially even after this severe potential moves on. These showers are still kind of going to train over the same region as well. So even after these higher reflectivity values move on, we still have all this lighter green behind that could bring some lighter rain into the area and just continue to just add on to the rainfall total in general. So again, just definitely not the best time to be out driving right now. If you know somebody who's out on the roads or you have plans to be out on the roads, it's important to pay attention to what the roads are looking like and how much rain is accumulating, and pull over if necessary at the time. So again, we're still watching this severe thunderstorm warning over here in Lamar, Monroe, Spalding, and Upson counties, but still some very, very strong storms over here in Taylor and Macon counties making their way into Dooley and Crisp counties, and this is packing a whole lot of lightning within it, also potentially maybe even seeing some hail as we look at these reflectivity values, these dark reds, and even some of these areas in purple just past Montezuma at the moment. These are really kind of the areas where we're also still seeing some pretty high impacts as well. But again, no rotation with any of these storms today. That has been the good news. We haven't really been so concerned about winds rotating, so there's really been no threat of that this afternoon, but we still are just looking at winds that have the potential to, again, knock down branches or maybe even some power lines as well, certainly strong enough to take down things like that. So when we're talking about winds, that's what we're talking about, not so much rotation, which is great news. Again, just kind of big picture here, this is what we are looking at really all across the state. Those showers and storms that we saw earlier this afternoon down here towards Telfair, Wheeler, and Montgomery counties making their way south towards Savannah right now and starting to push out of our area in general, but some of these storms to our west starting to stir up in the area. And again, if we pull up our SPC outlook that has just been updated for this evening, that's the area that they kind of outline now for us. It's actually quite accurate to what's going on right now. We're mostly clear towards our east, but over here towards our west is where we're still starting to see things pop up as the evening continues. And again, these will continue to be possible throughout the rest of the evening tonight. Again, I did outline sometime around the early morning hours is when we could start to see things move out, but they are continuing to be possible as we are in the later evening hours tonight. Again, hopefully sometime in the early morning hours for Tuesday is when we start to be in the all clear, but then again, as Tuesday progresses, we still have another chance to see some severe thunderstorm warnings issued as another line does make its way across the state. We can pull up our SPC outlook for this line as well, and that is these are the counties that they have decided to outline for tomorrow's outlook. But if they do issue another version of tomorrow's outlook, we will let you know, and we will show you which counties have been changed on that outlook as well. So as we go back to our reflectivity, again, tracking a severe thunderstorm warning that is over here towards Lamar, Monroe, Spalding, and Upson counties. Again, we've been watching it kind of lose steam over the past couple of minutes, which is great news. As we get closer to the 10 o'clock mark, we still haven't seen any more updates or any changes from the National Weather Service, which means they likely are just planning to let this expire at the time that it's set to, especially as the storm really kind of makes its way out of the polygon. Most of the areas that they have outlined here are really out of the threshold for the threat. Griffin, Zebulon, even Barnesville at this point making its way out of the areas of highest reflectivity. High Falls over here starting to make its way out of the threat as well. So most areas within the polygon are starting to kind of be in the clear at this time. Looking like maybe Forsyth could see a little bit more rain in the next couple of minutes. This is really the area that is packing the most rain and likely the highest winds as well. But at this time, it's looking like this storm really is starting to dissipate. We can check over here back towards Thomaston, where they still are getting lots of rain. Looking like our area of highest rainfall is right here, where you can kind of see that dark red color. But again, not really a huge threat at the moment in terms of severe thunderstorm warning. Looking like these winds are dying down as well. Let me see if I can get you an updated number for wind speeds. Yeah, definitely winds are dying down below the severe weather threshold, especially within this storm here. So they definitely will let this expire at the time it's set to. The storms that the National Weather Service is watching right now are the ones that we kind of keep drawing our focus to over here towards Butler and Montezuma. These storms are pretty strong, and they have wind speeds up to 50 miles per hour. So again, this is kind of that area where I'm watching for maybe some trees to be down, maybe a few branches or some power lines, things like that. That's kind of this region where things like that are more likely. So let's actually kind of just do a zoom in of where we're thinking these highest impacts are going to be. That's over here towards Rupert, Ellaville, Andersonville, Byronville, again, Montezuma, even towards Americus, Vienna, Unadilla. All of these areas are kind of where we're seeing high wind speeds. Butler, Reynolds, Junction City, all of these areas, high reflectivity, so very high rainfall, and then that's also kind of where we're seeing the highest winds of the storms this evening. And let me flip the lightning back on, because we also have lots of lightning flashing in these regions as well. It's probably getting very loud, especially over here towards Montezuma. We're seeing highest values of lightning strikes, so definitely very loud in these areas also. Again, this is a lot of rain too, so I've mentioned this many times before, but my biggest concern is how much flash flooding potential we might continue to have for the rest of the evening as this just continues to add on to the rainfall totals. And we can see if we've got any updates on our rainfall totals as we've been on the air here. Still looking like those colors towards yellow and green. That's where we're seeing the highest values, really to the north of Fort Valley and Perry, over here about 3.5 inches just to the west of Warner Robins, but still seeing some pretty high rainfall in that area where we're watching to the south of Butler and the west of Montezuma. Still seeing close to 2 inches of rain in these regions as well. So as these storms continue to dump more rain in those areas, that's going to become more and more of the main concern here. And I am just getting another update here from the National Weather Service about those storms specifically, these ones that we're watching right here. And it does look like they have just continued to put their eye on these storms. They haven't necessarily issued any warnings or anything like this, but when we get a special weather statement, that's when we know we have wind speeds up to 40 to 50 miles per hour and lots of lightning and heavy rain. So that's exactly what they're saying for these storms here, which again is the threat that we've been continuing to watch for the most of the evening here. And there's a better look at the cities that are seeing most of these impacts at the moment. And let's see if we can tell the pattern of where these storms are heading next. It does look like they're tracking mostly to the south. And let me see what the National Weather Service says. All right, it does look like they have canceled the severe thunderstorm warning that we were watching up here. We watched it sort of dissipate, and the rainfall has kind of joined down here with this other storm that we're watching towards Taylor County. So this is kind of the area that we're going to be concerned with over the next hour or so as it tracks its way towards Dooley County and Crisp counties. But again, no severe threat at the moment. They have expired all of the severe thunderstorm warnings here in central Georgia at the moment, but definitely down here towards Dooley, Macon, and Taylor counties, even towards Crisp in the next couple of minutes. Lots of rainfall heading your way, and again, still like some intense thunderstorms coming that way too, with lots of lightning as well. So continue to pay attention to those. We will be back on the air at 10 with more information.